The intrinsic extrinsic paradox involves instilling intrinsic motivation using the more readily available extrinsic or external motivational tools. Leaders have to inspire some sort of internal drive from their team, even though the most easiest and the most readily available motivational tools are often the external ones. Based on your position of leadership's formal authority, you're going to have a different set of external motivational tools available to you, whether that's bonuses, public recognition, or other perks that help spark short term motivation in your people. Even judicious punishment and corrective counseling that gets documented can be thrown into that mix. Now, these all fall into the transactional leadership category, which gets a lot of hate, particularly by all the geniuses on LinkedIn. The research shows very clearly, and my experience suggests that these are all great tools when they're used in moderation and when they're timed well. Now, they definitely lose their value and have diminished returns and even negative returns when they are used too often and relied on too heavily. Intrinsic motivation, which we can characterize as things like curiosity and desire for mastery and pride in your work, those things have a much better track record of sustaining long term performance if they can be leveraged well enough. The hard part about this paradox is that intrinsic motivation can't be handed out like pay or bonuses or perks or counseling and punishment. You can't pay people to care beyond a certain point. You can't punish people to care beyond a certain point. Can do is create an environment that makes caring more natural and makes it easier. Part of that is understanding your people. You can't lead your people and you can't influence your people if you don't actually know anything about them and you don't actually care about them, both of which they can sense and understand really quickly. Learning what they're curious about, what they want to master, and what they would be proud of, just as a few quick examples. Now, there will likely be a common set of things across your team and organization, but there will also be a uniqueness based on the individual. And it behooves you as a leader to understand what that uniqueness is because you can leverage that not in a malicious way, but benevolent way to influence them, to get them to do the things that you want them to do and the things that you need them to do as a leader because they actually want to do it. So the insight here is that extrinsic incentives can be really, really effective at getting compliance in the short term, and they can be effective at motivating in the short term. But it's intrinsic motivation, the internal motivators that actually build long term commitment. But it's a much squishier thing to manage and navigate. It's hard to get a hold of, and it's hard to figure out what those things are. And it's sometimes even harder to manage it once you actually do. The best leaders are the ones who connect the rewards and the punishments in the form of professional corrective action like counseling to deeper meaning. So they align what people do with why it matters. And a simple way to operationalize this paradox is to tie recognition to identity rather than just performance. So instead of saying good job to someone, which isn't very helpful, you can say, this is what you did well exactly. And that's exactly how someone on this team thinks. So you're tying their performance, whether it was poor or whether it was excellent performance, with the identity of the team or not the identity of the team. So it creates a contrast that's much easier to understand. Now, you're not just rewarding the result of the performance, you're also rewarding the mindset behind it, which taps into elements of pride and elements of mastery that I was talking about earlier. And that's how you integrate the levers of transactional leadership with the levers of transformational leadership. And it helps you navigate that tension between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation and therefore the paradox between the two.